Greetings to all my tech heads out there in the KevTechify nation, and if you're new here, welcome. In this episode, we're going to look at configuring initial router settings. We'll be discussing basic router configuration steps, and we'll go through a basic router configuration example. This episode is part of my series on Introduction to Networks for the CCNA. I'm Kevin here at KevTechify. Let's get this adventure started. These are the basic steps you'll take to configure your router. First thing you should do is set your device name. Set your device name here is the command host name. Notice the prompt we are in. This is global configuration mode. This is global configuration mode right here. Host name is space. Whatever you put after the host name will be it. Now you can name the host name after a location, after a job function, or you could give it a name that doesn't matter. Follow your company's guideline on that. The next one here is secure your privilege exec mode. This is the password you enter in when you type in enable. So enable secret password. Now, be aware that you could put the word password in here. If you put the password, it's going to store your password in clear text. But if you put secret, it's going to run it through an algorithm to not necessarily encrypt it, but people looking over your shoulder won't be able to easily read your password. And then the password you're putting in here goes right here. You put it in a space and you type it in here. You do not type this word password and put it over here. This is going to be your password you're setting. The next thing you need to do is secure exec mode. This is the console connection. This is connecting in. And so once again, from global configuration mode, we come in here, we want to secure one of our lines, and we want to secure the console. There is only one connection here. Computers start counting with 0, so it's line con 0. The command here is password, and then a space, and then once again, whatever you put right here, that's going to be your password. Now, you've set your password. Now you have to tell the login process to actually use this password. And that's what this final command here does, is it tells the login process to use the password you just set. The next step here is to secure your telnet and your SSH processes through your virtual terminals. And notice once again, this is a configuration mode, so we're coming in through line. Then we have our virtual terminals, and there's a number of virtual terminals you can do. A number of users can connect at the same time, so we need to have a range 0 to 5. So you are looking at 5 virtual terminals coming in. You set your password here. Once again, whatever you type in this area is your password. You tell the login process to use the password, and then at this point in time, you can set your transport to either be SSH or telnet. You should never use telnet. Telnet sends all of your communication in clear text. If somebody was sniffing your traffic, somebody using a program like Wireshark, anything you typed on in your terminal emulator, they would be able to see. Now, if you use SSH, that is encryption here. They encrypt your traffic. And so you should always use SSH. And when you turn that on, you're also going to have to generate a key and a couple other processes. This is no encryption. This is clear text here when you use this. So setting up whether we're using SSH or telnet, that is the transport, and then you're saying input, and then once again, always use SSH here. Now, as you go through the configuration, sometimes you enter in a password. The Cisco router will store that password in clear text. So anybody who looks at your configuration file, they'll be able to see your password. You can encrypt all of your clear text passwords with the service password encryption. This is going to go in and encrypt your password so somebody can't easily see that. This is a great security practice to do this. And then last here, you should provide some sort of legal notification about entering your system, that only authorized personnel should be in there, and that would be here from global configuration mode. The command here is banner and then MOTD, that stands for message of the day, And then you need to identify a delimiter. A delimiter starts and stops your message. And basically you can think this is the shift out of all of your number keys. Here they're using the pound sign, whatever symbol you start with here, you have to end with here. And so these are our delimiters. And anything in the middle of these is going to be your message. And so we just have the word message here, but you could put in several lines of information there. Legal disclaimer, if you don't have permission, you should not be here. We'll prosecute you under the full extent of the law. Something like that you should have in there. Then once you have all of your configurations done, you should save your configurations. And this is the process of saving your configuration. We do a copy, and then you take everything that's in RAM here. This is how your device is configured at this point in time, and you're going to copy it to a file called startup config. Startup config, that's stored in NVRAM here. That when it loses power or you restart it, it's there, and that startup config file is loaded into memory when the device boots. Here's a basic router configuration example. These are the steps you should work through as you look at configuring your device for the first time. We set our host name. We do the enable secret class. Then we do our line console. We're securing our line access. We set the password here of Cisco. We tell it to use the login process. And then notice we don't need to exit out because we're going to configure another line. And so we're looking at configuring our virtual terminals. Once again, make sure you enter that range in here. We set the password here of Cisco. We apply it to the login process. We are setting our transport input to SSH. Oh, telnet shouldn't be there. I don't know why it is. But this is what the command should be, transport input SSH. Then you can exit out. Then you encrypt all of your clear text passwords because the operating system does that. So we do a service password encryption. Then you enter in a banner message of the day. Here's our starting delimiter. It gives us a little message right here that says to make sure you end with what we started here. And then this is what you've typed in here. Warning, unauthorized access is prohibited. And the ending delimiter is somewhere down here at this point in time. Once you're all done, you exit out, and then you do a copy running config to your startup config. It stores that file in NVRAM. You could shorten this down to copy run start. Does the same thing at that point in time. This is the basic configuration you should do every time you set up a new router. It was my pleasure to provide you with this wonderful episode on configuring initial router settings. If you like this episode and you got value out of it, please click that like button, give a 5-star rating, leave a comment. This all helps me bring you more great content. Please take a minute to subscribe to my channel. All of my socials and contact information are on my website, KevTechify.com. There you can find out how to get all these episodes in video and podcast form. In the upper right is my playlist for my series on Introduction to Networks for the CCNA. In the bottom right is one of my favorite videos that I linked just for you. Thank you so much for watching this episode of my series on Introduction to Networks for the CCNA. Once again, I'm Kevin. This here is KevTechify. I'll see you next time for another great adventure.